My name is Spencer Bagley. I use he, series pronouns. I am a associate professor in Westminster University in Salt Lake City, Utah. I originally thought that I wanted to go into physics, but when I was an undergraduate, I realized that what I really liked about physics was the math in it, and I liked math better than physics math, and so that is how I sort of ended up going into math specifically. But ever since I was in elementary school or whatever, I was always pretty good at math, and I always enjoyed math classes and math activities and stuff. So it seems like that's a pretty natural pathway to where I ended up today. So I was in when I was in high school, I was taking math classes at our local community college for a variety of reasons. But I had a really excellent math teacher there whose name was Cindy Soderstrom. She has since retired, but continues to serve as like the treasurer of our chapter of Amatic, because that's the kind of person that she is. She was and is a really excellent teacher who really, you know, did such a lovely job of communicating why mathematics is cool, and like how it is a useful and important thing to think about. And it was in her classes that I decided, like, I want to teach math. Like, I want to help other people enjoy math in the same way that I do, and like remove some of the like sillier barriers to enjoying and being good at mathematics. Um, and so since then, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. For a while, I thought I wanted to be a physics teacher, but ended up in mathematics as a result of those classes. So I am mostly a math teacher. I don't do research in mathematics in any particular specialty. My dissertation, and to the extent that I do research these days, is in like how people learn math. What are the difficulties that they encounter when learning? How can we, jump over those obstacles? What are useful metaphors? What are useful ways of thinking? What are common pitfalls that people run into, and how do we address them? So I think my work you could broadly construe as like the scholarship of teaching and learning, so SOTL, SOTL. Um, so the thing that I really like about my position at Westminster is I get to teach pretty broadly across the curriculum. I this semester I taught like a Math 101, like fundamentals of algebra. I taught Calculus 2, which is low key my favorite class to teach, and then a like math for elementary teachers course, which was great, and I wish I could make everybody in the entire university take it, because it's like, let's think hard about what fractions are. Let's understand how place value works. Like all these things that are so fundamental that you think but you can always benefit from spending more time thinking about. And it's really fun to teach across the curriculum in that way, to see what kind of links you can make between the different courses, um, and to see the commonalities in things that are hard for people to learn, the ways in which uh, abstraction shows up in every different level, the ways in which we always try to take one more step back repeatedly to build more powerful tools that allow us to do more stuff. So I'm gay. I When I started at the University of Utah, after I graduated from high school, this was like at a time in my life when I was, discovering, who I was as a person. It was a rough transition from high school to college for me, um, for the usual variety of reasons. but then also because I was, starting to explore the closet that I found myself in, um, I ended up I ended up failing my first like intro to proof class. It was a, analysis class at the University of Utah, the first time that I took it. Um, at least partly because like I was trying to, you know, trying to figure out what my identity was. Um, I ended up retaking that course and having a much better time for, a variety of reasons. But throughout my undergrad and my master's degree, I did not have uh any gay professors that I knew of. And in fact, it wasn't until I was in grad school that I actually my PhD advisor was gay. Um is gay. Chris Rasmussen, and uh he's a well-known figure in math education and has been, you know, visible and proactive in terms of advocating uh, for other gay people in the field for a really long time. Um, so I am always out in my classes, and I part of the reason that I am is because like I hope to be, that like visible role model, a visible example of, a happy, successful professional gay person for, the people like me who didn't particularly have those role models or those visible examples in their lives. Um, Having told this story, I now want to say that like it is incredibly privileged that like that's my problem. Do you know what I mean? Like I never had like people questioning my ability to do math because of who I was. I never had explicit or implicit messages that a lot of other people of different identities and different like more visible minoritized status face. Um, and I think it's important for me to acknowledge that as well. That like I'm a white guy and I look like the kind of person who does math, and nobody ever questioned that I was in those spaces, even as I was questioning myself what I was doing there. I think what makes me feel accomplished is leaving the classroom after this sounds so trite, but I actually mean it. Like leaving the classroom after a day where all of your students kicked ass. Like that's cool and fun. It's really great to watch people figure something out and to feel more confident in their own abilities. Um, yeah, I think those are the days that I feel the most accomplished. One of the most important people as a role model for me was Cindy Soderstrom, who I mentioned earlier, my community college teacher who, you know, really made math accessible and fun for all of her students. Other role models include Chris Rasmussen, who I was really fortunate in grad school to be able to co-teach with Chris a like inquiry oriented geometry for secondary teachers class. Teaching with Chris in this class was really cool. I learned a lot of um, facilitation moves of what kinds of questions can you ask to when you drop in on what a group is doing and they're doing something good but they're momentarily stuck. What kind of questions can you ask to drive them forward, to get them unstuck without telling them what to do? um, I very much value all of my colleagues at Westminster, from whom I have learned a heck of a lot. Um, I also lean a lot on my Project Next community. Project Next is a professional development program for people who are new to the teaching career. I was really fortunate to participate in 2015. That sounds right. And the facilitators of that program, who at that time included Dave Kung and a host of other luminaries, were excellent. And so also were all the other participants who I still correspond with pretty regularly. Um, I'll shout out one more organization, which is AIBL. I think that stands for the Academy for Inquiry-Based Learning. Um, Stan uh, Yoshinobu is the, fearless leader of that organization. And I was fortunate to attend a workshop in Portland in 2019 with Stephanie Salamone and Gulden Karakuk and Amy Ksir and a couple of other people, where even though I had already been doing inquiry-based stuff, I learned a lot more and was able to really sharpen my skills through that experience. Here is a corny piece of, words of wisdom. Follow your heart. I say this to students a lot, like A, because it's funny, and B, because I mean it. Like, um, sometimes you just have to try some shit and see if it works. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. Sometimes you have to depart radically from a path that you think you were planning to be on. I was planning to be a physics professor, and I eventually figured out that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I thought that I was going to get a PhD in like some branch of mathematics and, prove theorems, but then also teach. And I realized at some point that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to spend most of my time thinking about teaching and thinking about how people learn. And so I went off and found a PhD program in math education. Um, you like trust yourself to know what you want to do and what is the path that can get you there.